Shalom, friends. It's Rabbi Jenny Solomon here at Beth Meyer Synagogue with a Mincha moment. We're making our way ever closer to the end of the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, and the end of the counting of the Omer, which we will celebrate with the holiday of Shavuot as we commemorate receiving the Torah at Mount Sinai once again. This week's Torah portion is actually a double Torah portion, Behar-Bechukotai. And particularly in the second portion, Bechukotai, we deal with all kinds of laws. And in fact, as these laws are given, they're often given in a format of if you do them, you will be rewarded. And if you don't do them, you will be punished. For many people in our community, including myself, that theology is incredibly problematic, right? We know people who are good people, who are rule followers, so to speak, people who do mitzvot, who are dedicated to making the world a better place. And we see them encounter difficulty and suffering and challenge, and it doesn't make sense. And of course, we see the opposite. People who, at least in our eyes, do not seek out goodness, are not pursuers of holiness and mitzvot, and yet somehow seem to be thriving and even to be rewarded for their behavior, their less than optimal behavior. So it's really easy to get hung up when we encounter that particular theology, which comes up in different ways, in different places in the Torah. But one of the things that I think we skip over that underlies that theology is, of course, that God created us with free will. If we look all the way back to Bereshit, to Genesis, and we remember one of the ways that we tell our story, our origin story, we remember that at the very beginning, human beings made mistakes. And of course, those mistakes had consequences. But before we even get to the consequences, that God created us as beings who have the capacity to choose. Every single morning in Birchot HaShachar, the traditional prayers that we say each morning, expressing our gratitude for these most basic miracles of our existence, we thank God, She'asani bat chorin, She'asani ben chorin, She'asani b'nei chorin, that God created us as free people, people with the capacity to make choices. So look, if you have read Rabbi Harold Kushner's amazing book, When Bad Things Happen to Good People, not if, but when, you know that he emphasized that, there's so much we don't have control over in our lives. We will all meet challenge if we live long enough. But even more, sometimes it appears that good people do meet some sort of unnecessary or unreasonable suffering. We don't always have a choice about the circumstances in life that we face. But what we do have a choice about is how we respond, how we meet the moment. And I think that is so important to remember again and again and again. That, of course, as good citizens, as good Jews, as good human beings, we are trying to follow mitzvot. We are trying to bring goodness and tikkun, healing and repair into the world. None of us are perfect. None of us, I assure you. And hopefully we are rewarded either externally or intrinsically by that goodness. But we will all probably meet our own suffering as well. And when we do, even then, we have a choice about how we make sense of it, of how we learn from it, of how we grow from it, maybe even how we wrest a blessing from it. We don't go seeking it, of course. None of us do. There's nothing noble in Judaism about suffering. But if and when it comes, We remember that we are free people. That is our inheritance as God's created beings, all of us. And we have a choice about the next step we take. We have a choice about how we go forward. Shalom. Peace.